Would I be the a-hole if I dropped out as a bridesmaid a week before the wedding because of what happened at the bachelorette? So I am a bridesmaid in my friend's wedding. She just had a bachelorette party at the groom's family's cabin for 2 nights. It started off okay, but as the attendants got more and more drunk, the racism and anti-Semitism started coming out. For context, everyone else in the wedding party is white. I am mixed Jewish and Asian and Irish, but that is not relevant to this post. My part of the party was to put on a tea party in the afternoon. I spent weeks hand-decorating a tea set as a wedding present. Weddings are huge in my culture, and I wanted to share that joy. I brought and cooked a bunch of my cultural food, but the basic stuff even white people like: lumpia, baked desserts, and skyflakes with cheese and meat. I, of course, checked with the bride and maid of honor beforehand, and both said that would be okay, with the bride saying she loved lumpia. I was so proud of it, and it looked beautiful all set up. But immediately, some of the bridal party started making the ew, ethnic food faces. One of them chased another with a sweet bun, laughing about how weird and scary it was. It was literally bread and cream. I sent pictures of my setup to other friends to see if it was something I did wrong, and everyone said it looked amazing. Edit, because I need to be precise. People did say thank you, including the bride. They said the setup was very pretty. It was the reaction to the food by some of them, family of the groom who also made the Auschwitz jokes, that I was describing. That being said, almost nobody spoke during the tea party portion, and they blamed it on being tired. The bride and friends did not say anything about the reactions of the other girls. The main feedback I got was that I was clearly a witch because my tea put everyone to sleep. It was a hibiscus, rose, mint, and calamansi mix. But oh well, maybe that food isn't for them. I moved on. But then the racist jokes started. The party started on Juneteenth, so you can imagine the jokes that came out of that. Then anti-Semitic jokes about Holocaust camps and more. This is a direct quote: I say a lot of Nazi and Holocaust jokes for someone who isn't racist. I was trapped on a boat with them when this started happening. Later that night, as I was grabbing something from a room to then leave, the main perpetrator said to someone I considered a close friend, "I was worried you'd be offended by the Auschwitz jokes because you're German." That friend replied she wasn't offended. I spoke up, "Well, I might be offended because I'm Jewish." I got up to leave with my stuff, and the girl said, "She's going back to Auschwitz." My friend, the bride, and everyone laughed. I went outside and I cried. They saw me from the window when they all came to eat food. Not a single one of my friends came to check on me. The vibes continued along that line, and I felt like I was in the Jewish/Asian version of Get Out, stuck in a giant home with a bunch of racist white people. But honestly, the fear from it wasn't the worst part. It was that not a single one of my friends said anything. I then was in a 4-hour car ride with one of said friends/bridesmaids on the way home. She spent the last hour of it lecturing me about how she's someone who can be cordial around people she doesn't agree with, but not everyone has that skill, especially when it's personal, and that I need to put myself in other people's shoes and see that they have positive intentions, and more. For context, this cabin was 4 hours away, and I have a pretty moderate disability. I was using 110% of my energy for this, and had no energy left by the end of it. I pushed myself to extremes for these friends and the bride, and it was reciprocated with laughing at anti-Semitic jokes at my expense. The wedding is next weekend. I can barely see from the migraine I have, and my legs are struggling with walking. I don't feel it's worth it to hurt myself for someone who couldn't bother to stand up for me, or even check on me afterward. All my friends of color agree with me, but this was my high school friend group. I grew up in a very white town, and I also feel guilty, like I'm letting them down. I'm not quite sure what to do, so Reddit, please help me out. Edit, I was a history major, which makes this whole thing even worse, so I have to add context that I didn't realize I missed until the comments. 1. The friend in the car is the friend who said she wasn't offended by the Holocaust jokes to the person she was asked by the jokester because she's German and lives in Germany. In the car, she did say that she is absolutely against the concentration camp joke and that she feels guilty she didn't say anything. The words "I'm sorry" never came out of her mouth, though. But then I brought up the other stuff with the food and racist comments, and that's when she went on that tangent. She also said she saw the racism, but told me that in those situations you just have to ignore it and choose not to be around those people again. As she knew there was racism happening, including toward me, and didn't say anything or check in on me, I will be choosing not to be around her again. I also told her repeatedly that I didn't want to talk about this now because I was so physically done, and she said, "This is my car and I'm driving. I don't want to be uncomfortable and have this tension here. We are talking." I have a vocal cord disorder and my speaking is limited, so I didn't say much. I also didn't want to get dropped off on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. I told her she crossed a boundary she can't come back from, though. 1. The people making the racist jokes were the siblings/cousins of the groom. My friends were the ones laughing along and not saying anything. 2. I have been long distance with these friends since high school. The friend in the car with me was in a social justice club with me in high school. There were no signs of this behavior before from either this friend or the bride. In fact, the bride went with me to an anti-ICE fundraiser party earlier this year, and we had a lot of fun. I have never been shy with my opinions, especially as someone who studied history. This was the first time I was hanging out with them around a bunch of other people. In reviewing these comments, I have realized that they may not be racist when they are with me before, but they didn't stop or say anything about racism when it happened, which is in fact racism. That is a key difference. I am also more white than not. I am ethnically Jewish but not religiously. I often don't feel like I have a right to be upset about these things because other family members have gone through worse. That's something I'm working to unlearn, and this was definitely some exposure therapy to that. 1. Why didn't I say anything at the party? Because I was in the middle of nowhere surrounded by drunk people making racist comments at me. I have survived violence before and know that sometimes keeping your mouth shut is what needs to happen until you're in a safe space. 2. Lastly, I will not be going to the wedding. I need to get off screens because my head is killing me, but your comments and support help settle me emotionally. I will decide tomorrow how I will inform the bride.